Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the May 27th, 2026 Planning Board meeting. I'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Allegiance to the flag of the
States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A few standard announcements, emergency exits. Take note of them. They're off to your left and right. Restrooms are out the door in the back of the room to the left. Please be sure to sign in the attendance sheet at the back of the meeting room on the table even if you're a developer and are presenting an application. And there's contact information on business cards on the table, along with any copies of resolutions in the agenda this evening. Please silence your cell phones so you don't disrupt the meeting and those presenting, and take any and all conversations you may wish to have amongst yourselves out the back door and close behind you. Thank you. We do have two meeting minutes sets that Lisa has sent us. If you've all had a chance to look at them, any changes?
Nope.
You guys are all set? Fish, Scott? Okay. Entertain a motion for approval of both the 3/24 and the 4/14/2026 meeting minutes.
I'll move.
Joe moves,
A second.
and Al seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. We have one correspondence from the Grays regarding the Norbert's solar farm from Jake Gray. And boards and committee updates. Jim Tipton is not here from the town board, but Keith is from the planning department.
Good evening, Keith Maynard, project manager for the town of Victor. Councilwoman Tipton sends her apologies. She will be here, just running a little bit late coming from work. So I have a couple town board updates from last night's town board meeting that pertain to this board. So first of all, there was a presentation last night to the town board for an update on the status of the site plan amendments that Norbert Solar Farms are here for, and then also just an update on how that would affect their Norbert's decommissioning bond amount, because as you guys know, that is one of the boxes that you have to check for the special use permit before you guys can approve it. So there's no, per the town attorney, and the town board was okay with that, there's no resolution needed because they're not actually changing the bond, even though, and they'll, I'm sure, speak more to this, but the value of decommissioning the project actually is going to go down with this change a little bit, but they're going to leave the higher value. So it was just an update to the town board. And then the other thing is the new sign code revisions that we've all been working on passed last night. So thanks again, Joe, for sitting on that committee. So my update for the planning board, your next planning board meeting is Tuesday, June 9th. The first item on your agenda is the TNT fireworks tent, 6 Commerce Drive. Applicant is requesting approval to set up a 20 by 40 tent to operate a retail sale of sparkler products for the 4th of July holiday from June 20th to July 5th. Operating hours will be 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. daily. Then the next two items you've seen before, but they haven't been here in a long time because they've been tabled, but they will both be coming back your next meeting. The first one is the Lehigh Place PDD preliminary and final subdivision application. The applicant is requesting approval to subdivide the 24.154 parcel into 3 lots. Lot 1 will consist of the FLCC building on 6.654 acres. Lot 2 is the proposed apartment buildings, there are 3 of them, on 14.202 acres, and Lot 3 will consist of the TLC daycare on 3.29 acres. This is the second and third step combined of a major subdivision. And then also Lehigh Place PD site plan, which is the actual site plan for that apartment lot. Applicant is requesting approval to construct three 4-story apartment buildings consisting of 52 units for a total of 156 multifamily units. It will consist of a clubhouse, pool, grill area, dog park, and open and covered parking areas in addition to the apartment buildings. And then the last new item on your agenda for the next time is Novarized preliminary subdivision. So you saw a sketch recently. This is the second step with a preliminary subdivision. Applicant is requesting approval to construct 74 lot cluster subdivision on 158.2 acre parcel at 973 Brownsville Road. Does anybody have any questions on any of that? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Okay, this evening's agenda, first one up, Vasta site plan modification. The public hearing was closed for this. Applicants requesting approval to modify the approved site plan from 2020 to include the paved area that was installed, the current parking layout and drive aisles, landscaping and screening changes, and the stormwater system changes. Good evening.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Kyle Twombly with APD Engineering and Architecture. I think we're all pretty familiar with this project at this point. So I kind of wanted to first see if the board wanted to take this in any direction, or if I should start going through the letter that I prepared, just kind of outlining what we've changed between the last meeting and this meeting.
Board have an interest in just going straight to his letter or other items?
I'm fine with that.
All right, why don't you proceed then with any changes, updates,
Okay.
Fine. Site plan.
So changes we made between the last meeting and this one is we've created an existing conditions map. The existing conditions map separates existing conditions from the proposed that Mr. Vasta would the proposed improvements that Mr. Vasta would implement. All the existing and the proposed were previously on the just on one site plan, so we've separated that. We've included existing storage areas on the site, which included spare parts, miscellaneous items, trailer storage, and trailer storage between the residential house and the pole barn. And I specified with call-out notes that all of these areas would be cleaned up and the storage would be moved into the rear of the property, which you can see on the site plan. There was an existing wood pile at the northeast corner of the site that was observed by members of the planning board during their site walk. They preferred if this was removed, and Mr. Vasta will remove the wood pile. That is noted on the existing conditions map. There is a maple tree at the northwest corner of the existing fence along the northern boundary of the site, which is in pretty poor condition. As of May 21st, when I visited the site, it was partially removed. Is it? Okay. Okay. So that tree has been removed. And if you go to the site plan, there are 3 proposed new trees along that boundary to assist with improving the screening in that area. And added a call out. Mr. Vasta is going to rework the striping in front of the property, and as part of this reworking, he is going to restripe it per the 22.5 minimum drive aisle width, and that was noted in the code enforcement officer's comments. And then on to the site plan. In addition to the new screening with the additional trees and proposed storage areas in the rear of the property to improve curb street side visibility. We are proposing to add a French drain along the east side of the site, just off the proposed compacted gravel. This would complete the stormwater system that was originally approved in 2020. This is kind of the same idea. And we also did some preliminary checking of the pipe capacity to withstand the 10-year and 100-year storm in order to properly flow into the retention pond to the south of the pole barn. Additionally, these items haven't changed, but the ADA parking spots will be paved and striped in front of the pole barn. And there is a proposed impound area for overnight vehicles and the tow truck parking to the north of the pole barn. And in addition to the French drain with stormwater, we are proposing to uniformly grade the northern part of that property. I think during the site walk, it was a pretty steep slope that was observed by the planning board members. That would be reworked and uniformly graded to drain as much of the stormwater as possible to the French drain, eventually outletting to the stormwater pond. I think that's about it. And we also added a couple of details for the compacted gravel and the French drain as well.
I'll ask a couple of questions and I'll open up to the board. The site plan that you're showing existing information, the wood pile and the storage and everything, says existing storage to be relocated in at least two things, and then the paint booth parts to be moved inside pole barn or removed. Are you stating in one of the other plans, is it all going to be in the back of the barn? I'll call it the east side of the barn. Is that where the new storage location is going to be?
Yes, that would be, other than the paint booth parts, which would be moved inside. A couple of items called out on there are just going to be removed altogether, but the storage areas, yes, would be all relocated to the east side of the pole barn.
So will they have like a rack system or anything, or shelving to outdoor equipment to keep it organized instead of piled? Like,
Next, I think we discussed you may do some scaffolding back there to.
I'm going to step up to the mic if that would be helpful.
Yeah, any scaffolding we're going to put directly behind the building.
So all the storage will be on scaffolding behind the building?
Yeah.
Okay, with the exception, obviously, of the trailer. And will that storage interfere with the location that you're proposing for the vent, for the paint booth?
No, it's going to, the scaffolding or shelving is going to be below fence level, and the vents are going to be higher. So they're not going to be interfering with each other.
So the storage scaffolding with all the equipment on it will be lower than where the paint booth exhaust is? Is that
Correct,
what you're
yeah.
saying?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So when you're looking at the fence, you're not going to see scaffolding above the fence. So anybody driving by, they're just going to see a fence, not, parts or
Yeah, and
whatever.
it's actually there on the west side, and you're talking about east side storage. So you got the building also shielding the view of that.
Yeah,
storage.
I did, either way of whichever you're driving, I do have stuff on one side right now and some on the other side.
Yeah.
It's going to be all put behind the building, not on the side of the building.
Okay, great. All right, board members, Al? Joe?
I think it's much improved, and I think the existing, along with the new proposed, helps bring clarity to it. But would just like to reinforce that, right? Anything that's not depicted on the proposed site plan would therefore be inconsistent with the site plan approval. So in other words, it can't be there. So, but that's all I have, Joe.
Okay, Scott?
The new trees are going in the northwest corner, is that where the new trees are going?
Yes, there's going to be 3 just outside the fence line. That should be shown on the site plan, sheet C2.
If you want to check that, you know where it is.
Yes. These 3 trees right here.
The landscape consultant mentions tree plantings on the west side as well. Are you not wanting to plant trees on the west side, or what's your position on that?
Which area specifically? Are we-
I'm just reading his comment, so lawn area directly to the south of the existing lawn, west of the building and behind the garden along the road.
So kind of this area in here.
Yeah. I mean, I think the gist of the landscape consultant's comments from 2020 and this year, I think the gist of it is to try to make the facility more attractive. And I guess, I think planning boards tend to look at lighting and landscaping, and that's why I tend to look at this comment and think that, yes, from my observation, some additional landscaping in front would make it nicer. I guess it relates to another comment I have, which is, is the building going to be upgraded? Is it going to be nicer in appearance than it is right now? Is it going to be reworked, resided, repainted?
The residential use, yes, that's currently under construction and was going to be part of the improvements.
Okay. I guess that's all I have, but I'd like to see some landscaping in the front as well as the north side as a buffer.
Trish?
I did notice the one tree that's coming down on the left side. There was another one that was pretty large and that was dead. Is that one also coming down as well, or was it just not bloomed yet for the?
That one, do you know?
Both of the trees that looked like they were cut, which they were originally, they
Yeah.
do bloom into a nice
Okay.
looking tree.
I wasn't sure
both
if
of
it
them.
was just early in the season or if it was dead.
Yeah, right now
Yeah.
it's got all its leaves just about, so right now
Okay.
it's starting to get bushy. On the one side of the property, between there's power lines, the hold down, there's really not much there. I mean, there is additional landscaping already from 2020 that's going to be blooming at this point. But as far as trees, there's really not that much room unless I put a tree in the middle of the yard, and I'd rather not.
I guess I would yield to the landscape consultant if he could take a look at the plans and determine whether his comments have been satisfied. I'm not a landscape architect, but I just think that's one of the few tools that we have as a planning board to request, and I think it's an important tool.
Anything else, Scott?
No, that's all I have.
Okay. I recall part of our discussion last time was about the gravel parking area in back. And you had indicated that you were looking to remove the asphalt millings that you originally had put in there. You weren't happy with the way that came out, so, but we also needed to know how it was going to be graded, what a section might look like through the parking area from like, I'll call it a north-south section, and then stay in the middle of the building because of as you noted, how steep that side is right underneath the fence. And that I believe it was topsoil in the back or material that was taken from where the infiltration pond was going to be moved over there. Is that still the plan? Do you have an engineering section as to what the base and sub-base looks going to look like for the gravel area?
There is a detail down here in the bottom right of C2, that would be the gravel section area, but once you move north of the gravel, there's actually probably about 10 feet to the property fence that would be open grass and, yeah,
So you'll grade that to the bottom of what fence is there, right?
yes,
'Cause I remember seeing gaps and things, and it seemed like that's what you were trying to convey.
yes.
So,
It was a little difficult to draw that in as a detail. We have the existing survey from 2020, but those are not the conditions out there anymore. So we tried to draw in at least a contour on what we're trying to accomplish, and then a note to make sure that everything around the fence was uniformly graded with a designated maximum slope towards the gravel and eventually to the French drain along the east side.
okay, I'm seeing the contour you're referring to. I think it's 575 along the north fence and wrapping around to the east.
Yes, yeah.
Correct, okay. I guess I'll defer to our engineer for his comments as well. So Wes, thoughts on the details they've provided?
Yeah, so this is the first I'm looking at the plans. So I'd like to have Mary take a look at the French drain, our stormwater person. But I think they're improved from what we've seen in the past. So I don't know that we have much to comment on.
I think, as indicated at the beginning of the discussion, we're not ready to move on this one because of we just received this today, I think, right?
This morning.
This morning. So
We updated.
give our consultant until the next meeting to evaluate anything that's been provided. I think, hearing from the board, everything you've addressed, to what hopefully will be our satisfaction, and things like seems like you should be able to move forward, save for any comments we may get from our consultants. Do you have anything else for us that you need?
I don't think so, not on our end, Max. You think that-
Okay. All right. Unless anyone else has any other comments?
I just wanted to mention to Wes that there's a comment from the watershed, or from the stormwater manager for the town regarding vehicles and fluids that may leak from vehicles with respect to stormwater and having impervious cover beneath them if they are outside. So I just wanted to have you forward that to Mary for her review.
Sure thing.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so pending the review from our engineer, I think we've gotten everything. I appreciate it, and hopefully we can move forward with this at the next meeting.
Okay,
All right,
all right.
Great.
Thank you, members of the board.
thank you.
Thank you.
We still have an open meeting for Bass Pro Shops Outdoor World. Got it right this time. Applicants requesting approval to redevelop the former Lord and Taylor building into a Bass Pro Shop will occupy that same footprint. Modifications are being made to accommodate entrances, sidewalks, landscaping, lighting, parking around the existing structure, and a facade update to 3 sides of the building. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Glenn Harvey with Fisher Associates. We were before this board on April 14th, and since that time, we've obtained all the necessary sign variances that we needed for this project. We've also submitted the submittal package that we included, addressed all of the comments that we have to date. One comment that was brought up in the May 12th letter from Labella was concerning the capacity with the sanitary sewer system and how the operation of the aquarium at the store could impact that system. We had a conference call last week with representatives from Bass Pro Shops, the town, and Labella to work through a plan to make sure that the operation of that aquarium didn't negatively impact the capacity of the sanitary sewer system. So we agreed on terms of the approval that constrain when that tank can be operated, and flow rate maximums that can't be exceeded, dates and times that only those operations can occur in the morning and during non-peak shopping hours, and to avoid aligning with peaks from residents in the area. So I believe that that comment was satisfied. We have made some revisions to the, what is this? Oh, clicker. Just minor revisions to some of the elevations and signage. I believe this elevation, the last time we were here, the tower is now shown at 73 feet, so you can see that in relation to the rest of the building. Just some renderings, nothing's really changed on any of these other elevations.
I had a quick question, Glenn, about those elevations. You're showing ATVs, boats, and things like that on grass on those elevations. The plan shows pavers and things. Is that, which is,
It's the pavers on the
Pavers,
plans,
okay.
yeah, just the landscape.
the rendering is,
Yeah, so the areas that are identified as part of the special use permit would be the only areas that are allowed for those seasonal or the outdoor sales
okay, great,
on the plans. Yep.
thanks.
Just some minor modifications to the brand book. Again, just the elevations have been updated to show the correct tower height. And there's just been some refinement to the location of signs 16, 17, and 18. So the signs are still the same size. They've just been moved to align with the site plan so that there's no, so everything corresponds with one another. Same distance is represented in the brand book as on the site plan. So this sign hasn't changed. Updated, there were some errors in the images that were used for the background, so those were updated. The dimensions for sign 17 have been updated, just so it aligns with the site plan. And some additional views of that sign. And then the Pork Chop Island, that sign has been positioned to avoid existing easements that are in that island. So that sign now is sitting in between an electrical easement and I believe a telephone easement. So again, the sign hasn't changed size, it's just we positioned it so to avoid those easements.
Yeah, I drove through there, I think it was this morning, and noted where you were calling for that sign. I was thinking it would be further down in my mind, but by the time you get down to that further sign, you're past everything. So
Yeah.
where the other mall interior signage, directional signage is. So
Yes.
I personally am fine with what you're showing.
Other than that, there's really nothing, the last image, just you can see what that tower is going to look like from Route, from 96, that perspective. So to this point, I believe we've addressed all the comments and concerns, and would be happy to answer any other questions that the board might have.
Oh, start at this end of the table, Scott.
I don't have any questions. I think it's a good project.
Trish?
I agree. I think it's a very exciting project. I do have a question, though. For the boats, I noticed that on the rendering, it's around all three sides of the building. Just, is that accurate, or is that
No,
just
the rendering in that regard's not accurate. It's the site plan shows the areas on the site plan where that, those items could be placed.
Okay. And the renderings are also relatively small boats? Is that
Yes.
generally what you put out, the
Yes.
smaller boats? Okay.
Yep.
But it's very exciting. There's a lot of enthusiasm from the community for this project, for sure.
Agreed. Thank you.
Al?
Nothing else?
Okay, Joe?
So I'm looking at your response to the comments from May 21st, and I'm happy to see comments 2, 3, I think 4, the ones regarding internal traffic and coordination with the DOT. I think that's what we needed to see for the approval. I am curious how that will manifest itself in changes. Will there be a traffic plan that'll be available? Like, I know Jack Marin even was talking about the coordination in that. Is something going to come back to the town as a result, and will the town be party to some of those conversations? Again, I don't think it has any bearing on what we're doing here tonight, but the follow-up to, the action proposed here, I think I'm curious about.
Yeah, it's,
So yeah, the town supervisor, I believe the fire marshal, security from the mall, obviously, the sheriff's department, DOT, the state troopers, like, there's a whole team that's involved in all those meetings, preparing for Black Friday specifically, but the entire holiday season.
Okay,
So yes, the town, if your question is, does the town have a voice in the room? Yes, we do.
good to know.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm good. I like what's going on here. I'm glad to see what the ZBA did with the signage. I think it looks very attractive, so I'm good.
okay. And Wes, any other thoughts?
Yeah, just to recap on what the applicant's representative stated with regard to the aquarium discharges into the town's sanitary sewer system. So, and it's specified out in a draft resolution that you may, if you're so inclined to consider the resolution tonight. Number one, that the rate of discharge not exceed 10 gallons per minute. Number two, that the days in time within the day, discharges can happen between 9 and 11 a.m., Mondays through Fridays, and excluding holidays and excluding Black Friday. And then finally, that the tenant keep a log of when those discharges occur, so that it is available to the town if they are inclined to take a look at their log. With regard to the sign and the pork chop, and could you remind me, I'm just looking at the rendering here on one of the pages, I think it's sheet 24. Is there adequate sight distance from someone who is facing south at the stop bar, and if they were looking to turn left at, to go towards 96, is there adequate sight distance there? Do we know what that distance is?
Yeah, so you're basically referring to the scenario in the bottom image?
Correct.
Yes, it was included in a previous submittal package that had the site distance study and verification that there's
Okay.
adequate distance there.
And then, and one of the renderings that I think I saw tonight flashed on the screen, is there a flagpole on top of the building?
No,
Maybe that was just in front of the building.
there's one in front of the building,
Yeah, right
there's one in
there.
front of the building, and that actually is a pole that goes all the way down. It might be hard to see in that image.
Okay. That's it.
So it is on or in the middle of the building, or?
Flagpole?
Yeah,
It's off to the left, it's in front, and it's hard to see in this image, but it's in that landscaped area that's in front of the store. The
Oh.
pole goes all the way
got
down
it.
to the
I
ground. Yeah.
misunderstood what you just told Wes, so.
Yep.
It's helpful, thanks.
Hmm?
Anything else, Wes?
That's it.
Okay. And nothing from me. I think you guys go a long way to address everything. You've gotten your variances, signage looks fine. So we do have a proposed draft resolution here. If you guys are okay with moving this forward, we'll do that. And Lisa just reminded me the public hearing's still open, so I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll move.
Actually, before they do that, I should ask if there's anyone from the public that has any comments at this meeting before we close it. Hearing none, then I'll hear a motion.
I'll move.
Al moves,
Second.
and Joe seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Public hearing is closed. And I do have a draft resolution, which I will read portions of and summarize anything that might be relevant, because it's pretty long. So for the Bass Pro Shops Outdoor World, 700 Eastview Mall Drive, applications 06 SP 2026 and 03 SU 26. Whereas the planning board made the following findings of fact, and there are 24 of them, including references to zoning board of appeals, signage variance approvals, variances, there's a host of them from 17 all the way down to 24. So those are available in the copies that you are certainly welcome to obtain. Now therefore be it resolved that the application of East 2 Mall LLC and Bass Pro Outdoor World LLC special use permit and site plan entitled Bass Pro Shops Outdoor World, drawn by Fisher Associates, dated February 17th, 2026, last revised April 8th, 2026, Planning Board Application 6SB 2026, 3SU 26, be approved with the following conditions. Conditions to be addressed prior to the chairman's signature on the site plan. Number 1 is standard. Number 2, that the comments from the Ontario County Planning Board in a letter dated March 23rd, 2026 be addressed. Number 3, that the comments from Zaretsky and Associates in a letter dated February 24th, 2026 be addressed. Number 4, that the comments from the Highway Department in a letter dated February 25th, 2026 be addressed. Number 5, that comments from the Fire Marshal in a letter dated February 26th, 2026 be addressed. Number 6, that the comments from the Town of Victor Construction Inspector in a letter dated March 10th, 2026 be addressed. Number 7, that comments from a code enforcement officer in letters dated March 11th, 2026 and April 17th, 2026 be addressed. Number 8, that the comments from the Town of Farmington Construction Inspector in a letter dated March 12th, 2026 be addressed. Number 9, that the comments from the architectural consultant in a letter dated March 13th, 2026, revised April 14th, 2026 be addressed. Number 10, that the comments from Labella Associates in letters dated March 18th, 2026 and May 12th, 2026 be addressed. Wes, does that cover Labella's?
Sure does.
Okay. Ongoing conditions. Number 1, standard. Number 2 is standard. Number 3, that site operations comply with the following aquarium discharge protocols at all times, which is what Wes referred to earlier. A, aquarium discharge shall only occur between 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., Monday through Friday. Aquarium discharges shall not occur on Black Friday or recognized holidays. I'm presuming you, Glenn, your client has seen all this. The maximum discharge flow rate shall not exceed 10 gallons per minute. C, a log of discharges shall be maintained and made available to the town upon request. Number 4, that the applicant provide a sanitary sewer design for the aquarium discharge that would be conveyed into the town's sanitary sewer, and that said design is to be reviewed by the town engineer, and that the town engineer confirm said design would have sufficient capacity to accommodate anticipated aquarium maintenance discharge volumes and rate that must not exceed 10 gallons per minute. Number 5, that any exterior lighting be code compliant and approved by the code enforcement officer. Number 6, building permit be obtained prior to start of construction. Number 7, that where necessary, a sign permit be obtained prior to installation of any business use signage. Number 8, that if any of the landscaping fails due to death or disease of any one or number of particular trees, shrubs, or bushes, the vegetation be replaced with the same equivalent trees, shrubs, or bushes in a timely manner. Number 9, letter of credit or escrow account to be filed with the Town of Victor in an amount acceptable to the engineer for the town and the town board, and that the surety be in a format acceptable to the attorney for the town. And number 10, that a pre-construction meeting shall be held prior to the start of construction. Is there anything else anyone had to add or edit? Hearing none, and be it further resolved, the planning board secretary distribute the planning board's approval letter. So on that resolution, entertain a motion for approval.
Move it.
Pat moves,
Second.
and Trish seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Looking forward to it, Glenn.
Thank you.
Okay, number 3, Norbit Solar Farm. This is an open public hearing. 8036 Main Street, Fishers, zoning is residential. Applicants requesting approval to modify the site plan and special use permit that was approved by the planning board on October 30th, 2025. Project is proposing a 4.428 megawatt AC solar energy facility on 34.93 acre parcel from fixed tilt racking to a single axis tracker racking system that would be able to track the sun throughout the day. Mr. Kritikos.
Good evening, everybody. My name is James Kritikos. I'm with BME Associates. Here with me this evening is Victor Chacha and Paul Cogden from NSF. We were here 2 weeks ago in front of you guys, and I think we just had some questions from a few board members as well as some neighbors. So we've, since that time, we submitted 2 different sets of information. One in an email last week, kind of covering the glare and the view shed questions, and then we sent a letter today covering the racking, motor, operation, and noise. So I'll just go through those, and then obviously I'll be happy to answer other questions. One quick step back, as Mr. Maynard did mention, we were at the town board last night, and they did reapprove the decommissioning agreement with the same value that we had approved with the previous design. That is a higher value than what it actually cost to decommission, because with the reduction in the amount of panels between that design and this one, there's just less material that we need to demo and take off site for that decommissioning. So the first question I'll touch on is the view shed question, which I think was raised by one of the neighbors, kind of noting on that we were modeling proposed vegetation in our view shed study. So I went back through all the view shed studies for this project just to confirm that's not something that we typically do. That wasn't the case for this. The statement that's in the view shed study specifically is figure 3 shows the vegetation limits used in the analysis, which takes into account both the existing vegetation from the 2023 NLCD, that's the National Land Cover Database, and BME's proposed vegetation clearing within the project site. So basically, the reason why we do this is we take the National Land Cover Database for wooded areas, supplement that into the view shed model, and then remove all the proposed clearing away from that. So then what that leaves us with is a representation of the site and helps us to identify potential visibility areas that we may need to look at, consider, and mitigate with plantings or screenings of that nature. So there was never, we don't typically model the proposed vegetation to create a screen in there. That's just not something that we do. And then we use that view shed study then to kind of help select all the locations for the glare study. So there were a few questions on the glare study. One was first to provide a location map. So we prepared an exhibit for Labella that corresponds with the glare study. So this identifies all of the observation points. I know it's a little hard to see with the scale. Kind of all these little red text are every observation points for Group 1 and Group 2, which is basically all the single-family residential homes on this, which were all modeled at a 16-foot viewing height for the second-story window. There are 2 other observation points that are not included on this map. One is 500 feet above the Strong Memorial helicopter pad, and the other one is at the airport's air traffic control tower. Obviously, there's no glare at any of these locations according to the report. And then all the other locations are these blue lines, which are the various road segments based on areas of potential visibility from the view shed study. Basically, what this does then is then we do the analysis on the road segments for 5 feet and 9 feet heights, which is a passenger car and a truck driver heights to identify potential visibility. Same thing, no visibility was identified, or glare for these as expected on any of these road segments. And that's very much supported by, a lot of the board members were at the site. And if you're just standing there with the existing vegetation when we were out there, especially at like the southern end, which is where more of the visibility would be to the neighbors, there wasn't a lot of visibility even of the adjacent properties with that existing vegetation. So it goes kind of, further stuff. We wouldn't see this in Fisher's Park. I know that was an area of, that was brought up. This whole area is wooded, so as soon as you get into that anyways, you wouldn't have visibility of that. And then we also have these green lines. These are the 2 trails, the Auburn Trail and the Lehigh Station Trail, just to kind of give them frame of reference and proximity to the project site. But same thing, we don't expect any visibility from this, and if there is any, it might be from one tiny specific location if you can thread the needle through trees at a couple thousand feet away. So we really don't anticipate any visibility. I myself have driven all these road segments in the wintertime when there was no vegetation. You can't see the site from anywhere. We do a double check on that just to make sure that we're consistent with the report and what we're saying here. So if you guys have any questions or concerns about any of these road segments, I just would recommend driving through there. Once you drive it, you'll be like, there's no chance you're going to see this.
So I'm struggling with this glare. From what I'm reading, the panels are horizontal overnight, and then they come up prior to the sun coming up, and then they're going to go horizontal again after sundown.
Correct.
I'm looking at the graph. It shows low incidence angles and high incident angles, correct? And there's no glare as they're following. I mean, how far do they go before
I'm going to walk through all
before
of this.
sundown?
So basically how the panels operate, in the night, they're in a stowing position. They are at 0 degrees. They are laying flat. At some point prior to sunrise, they rotate to a 60-degree tilt, which will be this scenario right here, where they're at a 60-degree tilt from horizontal. So then, in theory, when the sun first comes up in the morning, these panels are at 60 degrees, and your sun rays at 0 are coming, horizontal across, just as the sun's cresting up. Because the panel's at a 60-degree tilt, those sun rays that are moving horizontal then get reflected up into the sky. So there's no way that this sun from that, even a horizontal angle, is going to shoot up. What was happening before with the static panels is instead of these being 60 degrees to the east, they were 60 degrees facing the south. So when you have that sun here, they would hit the front of this panel and then go straight to the west and cause glare to the west. And then the opposite would happen at sunset, where the sun would be over here, they'd come and hit that panel facing south and then shoot to the east. Because they're now tracking and they lay flat and twist like this, there's no opportunity for that sun to reflect back into any of the adjacent properties or residents. That's why normally when we do these tracking panels, you don't have a glare come up very, very rarely. And then even then, you're obviously, doing an anti-reflective coating. So I'll just walk through those. So this is right when the sun comes up. This is when the sun is still up about 15 degrees above horizontal, so still not perpendicular with the panels. And you can see the rays coming in, and then the blue is what is going to be reflected back out toward the sky. And once the sun is at 30 degrees above horizon, the panels are perpendicular now at the 60-degree tilt. The sun rays hit the panels and then basically get bounced right back at it. At this point, the panels start tracking the sun. So then when the sun is, at 60 degrees over here, it's still perpendicular, so the rays are just being reflected back up into the sky. And that occurs all the way until you get to, through noon, and then basically just imagine this being flipped when the sun's on the other side. So then they track, and then as soon as the sun gets below that, those panels stay 60 degree tilted toward the west, and the sun, as it sets, is going to hit those and then get reflected higher and higher into the sky.
So-
That's the reflection.
So if we look at that or when the sun first comes up in the morning, go down one. Yeah. So if I'm looking at that panel straight on, I understand that the sunlight is reflected up. I'm not going to see a shiny panel. Am I confusing glare with just a real bright?
You may see a shiny spot where there's some reflection going on, but the glare is when the glare comes off the sun and then gets reflected at the observation point. So basically, all the observation points in the study are all the residential homes at a 16-foot viewing height, meaning that when that sun comes up and hits those panels at whatever angle, it's not getting reflected back at a visible.
But I still could see 1,000 shiny spots, all right? Even though
It's
it's
going to
not
be no
reflected.
different than kind of that video that we observed last time during the previous application that we had where, they had the drone kind of flying across the panels and you may see, a sunspot or something. It's not going to be a glaring, image coming back at you. And again, all these things do have anti-reflective coating. I know Mr. Petty did have that one exhibit the last time we went through about the different types of materials and how much light is actually reflected.
Okay.
The glare is more of a nuisance where it's coming and actually hitting you right in your receptor versus, oh, the sun's hitting something shiny over there and it's shiny. It's more of a nuisance thing as opposed to a visibility thing.
So did you go on, I don't remember if you went on the site walk up in, was it Greece or?
Parma.
Parma, thank you. Did you see that solar field up there? In Parma? Did you go to the Parma field site?
I don't think you were present at that site walk, Joe.
Can you hear me okay? Because I'm not speaking very loud.
I did not, no.
Okay, thanks, Al. So the only dot I saw on that site walk was if you did the angle of repose, if you will, from reflection of the sun itself. So if you look toward the sun and try to line up a panel, somewhere along those panels, you would see a brighter spot, I guess, a glow. Wasn't a reflection of the sun, but it was a glow because of the coating that James is talking about. In this case, you don't even get that because the panels are rotating. You never have an opportunity to be in line with the reflection of the sun. First of all, because they're oriented 90 degrees. And then secondly, there's no houses or locations in that other direction on the north side of the panels, if you will, to get that reflection from a lower angle sun to the relatively horizontal panels.
Yeah, there is, the panels aren't horizontal when the sun is low. They're at a full tilt,
Yeah,
either
but I
to the
mean,
east or west.
If you switch them to 90 degrees, that's perpendicular to one point of the sun. You know, when the sun comes around, it gets to a point. But if
Yes.
you're north-south, you could theoretically get a reflection, but you'd have to be north of all of the.
Sure, but
panels.
let me make sure I'm saying this right. At the equinox in March and September, the sun rises and sets approximately straight east and west. It's at a 0 degree from thing. Okay, so when you're at the summer solstice, you're about 30 degrees north of straight east, and then in the winter solstice, you're about 30 degrees south. So even with that 30 degrees angle, because of the angle of the panels, so if you're straight and you're coming down 30 degrees, you still hit that sunlight is still getting reflected back up into the sky at that
right.
30 degrees. It's not like the sun is setting straight south of this and hitting a panel and then, bouncing north toward the thruway or straight north and bouncing to the south.
Sure.
It's just, the sun doesn't move that much.
Yeah, I guess my point is, Joe, there's no way they can see a bright spot anyone can see a bright spot from these panels because they're turning, and as James said, it's going back up into the sky. It's not a glancing blow towards you from a specific spot in the field that's oriented 90 degrees from that.
Okay.
Did I mess that up? Or
I'm starting to get it.
You get it? Okay.
I might have a good analogy too, just ironically, the sun that I can't see because the screen is blocking the sun is hitting the glossy part of the table and going right into my eye. If I had to turn the table so it's pointed at the sun, you're not going to have the same effect if
Yeah.
you looked at the table from that side.
We'll pick it up and,
I don't know if you can see it, but
yeah.
it's a pretty, ironically, it's a pretty
You
good
do have a
analogy.
glow about
Exactly
yourself,
what you're talking about.
Good example. Okay?
So
All right.
before I move on, is there any more questions on kind of the glare and the reflection before I get into how the motors and the noise?
No, I think between the two or three pieces, we got the gist of it. Thanks.
So today we submitted a second letter that was in relation to the noise and how these motors on the racks operate. So as I mentioned before, these panels sit flat all night. Sometime a little bit prior to sunrise in the morning, they will rotate from flat to 60 degrees facing east. That rotation movement, where it's moving approximately 60 degrees, takes approximately 2 minutes. And then they sit there and wait until the sun comes up, 30 degrees above horizon, and it tracks the panels all day until the sun is 30 degrees above horizon for sunset. Obviously, the amount of time in the day varies across the winter to the summer months. In the winter, you're only 9 hours of sunlight, and in the summer, you're 15 and a half around here. So of that time, there's 2/3 of that time, the panels are actively tracking because the other third, they're below where they can hit with the angles. So how that works is, once the sun gets to be perpendicular, those panels start making approximately a 1 degree movement, so there's around 120 movements for each panel. There's one motor that's situated approximately center of each racking system, and then each movement takes around 20 seconds or so, give or take, to do this. So in the winter, sometimes the motions will be anywhere from like 3 minutes up to like 5.5, 6 minutes in the long, just because there's a little bit less rotation. The panels are not going to all operate at the same time. It's unlikely that will happen. They take into account the different locations. Topography is a big thing, so certain areas are lower. Not all panels are exactly the same in relation to that sun. So some of that system that operates those things does take into account that to optimize the panels. So that's approximately what they do. So they start rotating, and then they stay at 60 degrees facing the west once the sun kind of sets to, below 30 degrees, and the sun sets. And then same thing, those panels go from a 60 degrees tilt to the west, 2 minute rotation back to flat, sometime after sunset, and then they sit there all night. And there's no noise at night. No noise from the motors, no noise from the inverters after sunset and before sunrise, with the exception of the 2-minute period where all the panels are rotating, or however they do that. In terms of the noise system, we reached out to the racking supplier, Cole Solar, and they were able to take a handheld meter to one of their existing sites and give us an approximate noise reading at 10 feet, which was 55.3 decibels is what they came back with. Obviously, this isn't a controlled environment like a factory setting, things like that. That would be the true way to model the sound, because this takes into account a little bit of the noise. This could have wind impacting it, other things that make this higher, but to us, this is a pretty conservative estimate of what noise will be generated off of this, from the manufacturer, so we're comfortable with it. And then what we did was we ran calculations consistent with what Stantec had provided, just so that we could get them finalized prior to this meeting, for a couple different scenarios. And we prepared this table to kind of summarize all the information together. So I'll walk you through this. The first column here, this is the dBA values from just the inverters. That was from the original, although updated noise assessment from Stantec that we submitted in April with the project. This is both inverters, or both strings of inverters running. You can see all the values here. Obviously, the further away the distance from those inverters, the lower it's going to be. All of these are well below the 45 decibels. Then we ran, these are calculations that we completed for motors only. So this assumes that all of the string motors, all 122 of them at the site, are operating at the same time, and all those panels are rotating. And this is the noise generated from just all those motors going. So this would be a good example of this would be a scenario for the 2 minutes before and after sunset when there's no inverters, and say all the panels go at one time and they all rotate simultaneously, if that does occur. And again, you can see these numbers are all very consistent or lower with the dBA inverters. And again, they're all well below the 45 decibels, which is the DEC's quiet rural area that we've been using as kind of a threshold in the guidance of what they recommend. Then we also did a combined one where we took the sound levels for the inverters running and the motors running. So this would be in the day when the inverters are buzzing, and then all the motors go at the same time. And it's the maximum, estimated noise values. All of these values are less than the 45, with the exception of this one, which is 46. But there's language in that report and the ambient noise study and things that we did that you're not really going to be able to discern different sound sources that are like less than 3 decibels apart, especially in like a quiet rural area. And then what we did for the last two columns here, these are the ambient noise readings that we actually took on the site based on existing conditions out here. These don't have all 8 receptors, so I just got the north, east, south, and west. But you can see for the north one, I was 60.4, 60.5. This is obviously very close to the thruway, so that makes sense. The east one, 42.5. This is the morning one. 47.6. This is in the evening. This is probably a little louder because there wasn't as much vegetation on the east side. So this, I think, still gets a little bit more of that thruway noise over there. You've got the south, which is further away at 47, 48, but this gets closer to the Fisher's Station Road or whatever, the road south of us. And then to the west is 40.7 and 43. This one's quieter because if you look at the image of where that meter was set up, it's in a very wooded area along that property line. So the woods are already providing some attenuation from the 60 decibels up closer to the thruway. So it makes sense. And again, all our values for everything generated are all less. The couple things I want to point out about these is these are very conservative noise estimates. These assume that you are in a flat condition, there's no grass, there is 0 obstructions between you. This is basically each one of these motors is standing on a post in a field. There's nothing around anywhere. There's no trees, there's no vegetation, there's no structures. Every one of these panels buffers the motor adjacent to it. So remember when you were, when we did our site walk at Parma, and we had the string inverters that were in the middle of the row, and you walked to a certain distance and you couldn't get past them. If you walk to the next row in the panels, those panels are going to provide some buffer to your noise. So all of these values are effectively worst case scenario if there were no panels, rackings, and we just put a bunch of these little motors that were all running around the site with the inverters going, no vegetation, nothing between them. It's purely you're this far away, so the sound degrades at this level. It doesn't take into account humidity in the air. Obviously, if it's more humid, noise travels less fast. It doesn't take into vegetation on the ground surface, so lawn, meadow mixture that will pick up and absorb sound as opposed to reflecting it toward sound sources or anything else of that nature. So the way we model this with each of these panels, if you look at any individual motor, so even if you want to just say the closest motor to the property, some of them at those receptors are still in like the 25 to 30 decibel range, which is per the DEC's guidance or per the OSHA guidance that's included in that noise assessment. I think at 20 decibels is like a quiet study room, 30 decibels is like the north rim of the Grand Canyon. Very quiet things, and 45 decibels again is the DEC's definition of a quiet rural area, which is consistent with the ambient noise readings that we picked up in the field based on actual site conditions. So we're very comfortable with this. Norba utilizes these tracking motors on a majority of their project sites. They've never had a complaint about them ever. Generally, noise isn't an issue because, again, even with the inverters and things, there's so much structures that we build on the site that are between those units and the sound sources. It just gets buffered out in the grand scheme of things. And we do it this way to just be as conservative as absolutely possible to really just show, even if perfect condition storms, everything's going, all the motors are going, the inverters are going, the sound levels aren't higher than, the ambient noise out there. So we're not going to have any sort of impact on the neighbors or the residents.
Anything else, James? Is that?
That's
too
about
bad?
it from us. I mean, we're happy to answer other questions. Kind of at this point, I think we haven't gotten any new comments from any town staff or agencies. We've addressed everything. If there's nothing else from the neighbors, I think we'd ask to close the public hearing and then, request that you guys prepare a resolution for next time.
All right, well, I'll open it up to the board, open it up to the floor for anyone here who may have any other questions based on what you just conveyed, and then go from there. So, Joe, any thoughts, comments? Answered your questions? Al?
No, I appreciate the detailed explanation
course.
and the study, so thank you.
Okay. Scott?
James, is it safe to say that the new design with the motors and such is a more environmentally friendly design than what you had originally? Is that a fair statement?
I would think so. I think it reduces the potential glare, which I think the noise is consistent, and I think the tracking motors do reduce the potential noise. We have a less footprint, and there's less things to decommission. Everything else is effectively the same with the project, though, the disturbance, the clearing, the fences, everything else. So I would say that this is an improvement over the other project, and these do generate electricity more efficiently than the static panels, so.
Thank you.
Trish?
So I'm trying to wrap my mind around and understand a little bit more of what you said earlier about the glare off the panels. Am I understanding that you're saying there really is no scenario where there would be a glare that would be, because I know it is a concern of neighbors, is there no scenario from what you're saying because of the way the sun is being tracked by the panels? Because I don't know why there would even be a glare study then. Why they do a glare study analysis if you're saying that there's not a scenario based on the sun tracking the panels of there being a glare?
So in general, when we do tracking panels, there isn't, but we always do the glare study because typically it's required by the municipality. This question always comes up. So our glare study that we submitted with the updated design says that there's no glare. I'm providing this information based on some of the discussions at the last planning board meeting, just to try and explain why there's no glare and how the sun gets reflected off these tracking panels. There could be, a very, very specific scenario. This site's very flat. Sometimes we deal with a lot more topography on our sites. We're building into slopes where, there's different types of sight lines and stuff and less vegetation and different areas where, yeah, maybe there is something. And then that's where we would, identify it between the glare study and the view shed study. And then, okay, what do we need to do to reduce that? How can we update our design to do that? But for this project specifically, the glare study that Stantec, they're confident in their work, shows that there's no glare. So this is really just to help try and elaborate on
Right.
the information we provided before to prove why there shouldn't be any glare.
And since you're investigating that, do you take into account seasonal changes? Obviously, lighting is changes with seasons. Is that something that's
Yes, so they use this program called Forge Solar, which takes into account a whole slew of information, position of the sun at all times of the year. So they look at this from, the winter months, the summer months, and that's all kind of detailed somewhat pretty well in their glare study, for, what the different observation points and, the other environmental factors.
So, for example, have you taken into account second-story viewpoints, since a home would be generally, in a different viewpoint than ground level?
Yeah, so actually all the observation points that we look at for the glare study are only done at 16 feet because we are looking for the maximum height that could receive glare. So we are looking at those from a second-story window. And then for the road segments, we're doing it at 5 and 9 feet, which is a passenger vehicle and a tractor trailer height for a driver.
And if you ever replace the panels in the future with a different reflective surface, would there be another study done to make sure that there's no additional glare from that surface?
The surface is taken into account in the analysis. I mean, I believe the town code requires an anti-reflective coating on the panels, so we would have to get a variance, I believe, to have that done. And that's not something that we do. Pretty much all the solar panels come standard with that nowadays, with the anti-reflective coating. So I wouldn't imagine that there would be a scenario where we would come back and change the panels to be anti-reflective. And honestly, based on the studies, they could be mirrors, I think, and I don't think you would have glare being directed at the houses based on the way the angles work. So I think it's a little bit of a non-issue. And obviously, we would be back here for approvals and providing additional information and studies if we were going to change something that would have a potential to alter, our thoughts on that.
So if that did occur and there was concern and there was a glare, how would that be addressed?
If you're saying after the panels were constructed, and like if there was glare, like a nuisance glare, I mean, that would be something that Norba, I think, would look to mitigate and, propose additional plantings just to start buffering that out. And we would have to look at a number of things, like when we would be looking at why does our analysis not show this, like how did this get missed? But, based on the consultant's work for the glare, who's an expert in the field, for modeling these, we're confident in their analysis. And then, the additional supplement, it's just how the system operation works. That's why they're set up like this, is to really help minimize that. It's a lot different with the static panels, like what we had during the first round, because they don't track the sun, so the rays are not getting reflected back to it majority of the day. So there's a lot more opportunity for glare, especially at the very low incidence angles when the sun is low in the sky and hitting it low and then reflecting low. But now that doesn't occur at all with the tracking panels.
But if it did, that's something that would be addressed, you're saying?
We would, yes, if there was glare, to any sort of, location that would impact anybody, yes. But again, you can't see the site from most locations. I think if you drive all the adjacent streets and all the areas that are located, you'll have zero visibility of the site. And if you can't see the site, you don't have glare. The two main areas I think that everybody's been most concerned about with is our neighbors to the east and to the west. And I think this is a very good example of what those two locations are going to experience from the east and the west, and they should not have any glare at all. Should be an improved scenario from what we have currently approved from the board last fall.
I mean, I just ask because certainly if the project is completed and there is an issue, then, for some reason that the study was inaccurate, like how is that addressed? I think that's an important.
Sure. I mean, our study last time with the first one did show that there was glare, and we identified that, and we, accounted for, we think there may be this much amount of glare. And then we went through the process of, okay, well, look, the neighbor to the west of us has 300 feet of existing wooded area that's going to be maintained that will significantly reduce his visibility. So there's a very unlikely chance that he's going to experience, glare or will be buffered. And then the location to the east, we have a bunch of landscaping proposed in this area right here, which we are maintaining, again, based on,
our site walk, and this being one of the, this is a, I don't know, like emergent growth hedgerow. It's not like a, trees and vegetated. It's very dense. Like you can't see through it in the summertime. And half the board was on site and saw that. But adjacent to the house, we are supplementing with additional landscaping. And that would be the answer probably for us to start, as if there is a glare location out there. Okay, how can we go out there and just plant some more trees and vegetation and mitigate that? And because of the heights of the panels and the reflection angles, we're not talking about anything crazy. These panels are only 12-foot max by code, and we're actually somewhere in the 9 to 10-foot max height. So once you factor in a couple of those things, you can plant a couple 10-foot trees and really block any visibility in specific locations if we need to. And a lot of these trees here that we've already accounted for, we're going to field locate them based on when the panels are constructed to minimize visibility and do sight lines. If we need to take a couple of plants of here and put them in a couple of spots over here to create some additional visibility here, which I don't expect to, or even if we needed to do some additional at the north for some reason, between us and the thruway, that'd be something that we would just take care of. I mean, Norbit doesn't want any liabilities, from glare causing on adjacent properties, especially roadways or something like the thruway, so.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The only question I would have, James, regarding the mechanization, how do you guys respond, or what tells you if there's a malfunction in the movement of a panel set or multiple panel sets or the whole field? Like if
They have data feedback that comes to them, so they can, I believe they can monitor it remotely. Yep, and so they get
as soon as if you have a seizure of a motor set or trips a breaker or whatever, to control it, they can come out and fix it so that
Correct.
I mean, you could conceive that if it was flat in the middle of the day, all of a sudden it just stopped, then the sun all of a sudden is going to skip off of it. You're going to get a glare situation that you didn't anticipate, so that needs to be addressed.
True, but the things that would, help mitigate that are all the other panels adjacent to them are still rotating. So
Yeah.
if that one panel's flat and the other ones are tilted at 60, you're not going to get any reflection off the panel in the middle row. You'd
So
have to
block
have
the
a very
sun?
unique situation where I think a whole bunch of them went off at the same time.
So it's more of a general maintenance question, and I mean,
I mean, that's something that for them though, when the panels aren't tracking, they're not producing as much.
Right.
So they're not making as much money. They're not, generating
Mm-hmm.
electricity the same way that they would be. So I mean, it behooves them to go out there and fix them, and they have a lot of these project sites, so this is very normal routine maintenance, for
Yeah, the
them to
maintenance
take
crew
care
that
of.
goes around to different sites okay. All right. Wes? Comments?
Yeah, I appreciate the updated graphic and analysis on the glare. That's very helpful, and it appears that the new proposal minimizes and avoids any of the minimal glare that was associated with the previously approved project.
Correct.
So I think that's very helpful. That kind of reinforces, the environmental decision about seeker that was made at the previous project. The sound information, that's also helpful. So, you've addressed LaBella's comments. I think LaBella's satisfied with the comments that we've made. So I don't have anything further.
I will open up the floor if there's anyone here who wishes to question, comment, make a statement about this project. Now's the time. And Susie, let me know if anybody online has any comments. Okay. I just want to point out that the Grays did send an email with a couple of photos and a comment regarding the glare. I'll just read it, it's short. Please find attached 2 photos due west at less than 16-foot perspective. It is a before panel installation view, so it shows the clearing, it shows the trees in the distance from the Gray's house, which is the house on the east for those who are listening. So the proposed new panels will face directly at the real property at 8016 Main Street, Fishers at sunrise. Yes, they will. They'll be at 60 degrees, as I understand it, James, with a near-perfect reflection of hundreds out of the thousands of panels to be installed will most definitely cause a breach of codes. I'm not sure how that relates to the code. I don't see that. These new proposed larger panels, James, do you say they were smaller or?
They're consistent.
They're consistent, same size, just a different mechanism to support them and move them?
Both the previously approved application and this one still both comply with the 12-foot maximum height. Again, the ones we have today are somewhere between 9 and 10 at the max tilt, lower at different points in the day.
Would you actually be, this is a side question from me, looking, if I looked at the front row of panels at 16 feet above the ground, would I see more panels than just that front row or just little tops of a few of them, or how would that? How
If
would
you're
you,
looking from like the south and looking north,
if I'm looking from the east, looking west across panels that are going north-south, I'm looking at a row of panels in the front, correct?
you'll see the closest. If you had a
Closest
clear
set.
view, you'd see the first panel tilted at 60, and then you would see maybe portions of the next panels depending on how high of an
Okay.
angle you're viewing from.
Yeah, so if they're 16 feet up, the highest point is maybe 10 feet, 9 to 10 feet, I think you said. So they might be looking down a little bit depending on how their elevation matches the ground elevation.
Right.
16 feet at their level, is that 16 feet at the field level? I don't know. But,
I mean, if you had a clear view from a 16-foot height overlooking these, you might see the tops of all the panels, like when
Yeah.
they're all tilted, and then, obviously, if you had a clear view at noon, when the panels are all flat, you might have a clear view of, kind of a sheet of things. But obviously, the sunlight is,
so you will see
Going
a
right back.
panel set fully in the closest set to you if you're looking directly west from their deck, say. And then above it, you'll see reducing levels of other panels because they're increasingly blocked by the panels between them.
right. And for this location specifically, again, we're trying to plant plants there to help
Right.
mitigate the view like the glare, there's no glare. Like the
Yeah.
study confirms that, the information, we confirmed that.
I mean,
But the view shed, we're still trying to block and provide screening for that resident because they're the ones that are closest to the project without 300 feet of woods in there. We're maintaining all of the hedgerow that's there today on the property, plus planting, I think it was like 30 additional trees, if I'm not
Something like
mistaken.
that, yeah.
And again, we'll field locate them, we can stagger them. We'll look at where the views from their house and mainly from probably their backyard and deck are and see how we can plant those trees. We can have our landscape architect out there and, provide guidance on that so we're not planting them too close and helping them so they can mature to a,
I'm
a
just
height.
trying to address their comments and make sure that they are addressed, but with a reasonable explanation for each of these points. So they say near perfect reflection of hundreds out of the thousands of panels. The cause of breach of codes. I don't know what breach of code it would be. 'Cause we're obviously putting shielding and things like that to mitigate the view. These new proposed larger panels, which you've already explained are not, were always their intent as a fixed orientation would never have an expectable yield. I know they're making conjectures here that I can't address personally, but I don't.
The project yield's the same. These more efficient panels now, we're producing the same amount of electricity. It's not any different. We just have less panels now because they work more efficiently.
Yeah, okay. So I think that in the changes that you've made, the explanations, the descriptions, all of that information regarding glare and noise, you've addressed anything that I see in this letter that was valid. So I just did want to give them that
Understood.
public acknowledgement. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll move.
Al moves.
Second.
And Scott seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. At this point, we don't have a resolution, so we'll be dealing with that, I think, at the next meeting that we can. So, all right.
Well, we'll see you guys hopefully in a
Okay.
couple weeks.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks, James.
Great night.
Okay, next item number 4, Mortallaro Site Plan, County Route 41. Applicants requesting approval to construct a 3-bedroom, single-family home on 88.5 acres. And this is east of Fountain Hill, or of Victor Holcomb Road, right? Yeah. Yeah, it's almost at the eastern edge of the town line, yeah, okay. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Glenn Thornton with Thornton Engineering, and I'm here with Matt Mortellaro, the applicant, developer, homeowner, hopefully, in the town of Victor. Let me just explain a little bit about this project. You're probably aware that the driveway and the irrigation pond were constructed last year. Matt wanted to get the driveway in so he could get his farm equipment back there. It was impassable. The driveway grade at County Road 41 was very, very steep. So the driveway was mostly constructed last year. There's still some finish-up work to do on the driveway. The intention of the driveway at that time was a farm access driveway. It was not intended for residential use, even though, let's face it, Matt owns a lot of property out there. It's nice property. He had envisioned putting a house out there at some point in time. His plans were accelerated, so we're here the next year to hopefully get everything straightened out with the driveway, with the house, with the wastewater treatment system. And I think most important topic that's come up is fire access and fire protection. So there's been a number of emails back and forth, comment letters. We've addressed most of them except for the ones that arrived today. I don't think there's anything new in these comment letters. We received Wes's letter, which has a few comments that I think can most easily be addressed by just giving you a set of plans that were submitted last year for the driveway and the irrigation pond. Those plans include a lot of information you were looking for. Of course, we can add that information to the current set of site plans for the residents as well. Some of the comments will require some additional work on the driveway, the pull-off areas to satisfy the fire code and the fire marshal. We've agreed we will contact town representatives to come out to witness the test holes that are going to be dug in the driveway to verify the construction meets town code and fire code for support of emergency response equipment. We have no problems with that. We just haven't scheduled that yet. That'll probably come sometime in the future, maybe when you start building your house, because, I mean, if there are any deficiencies, obviously we will have to address those before a C of O would be issued for the house. We're still confused about the proximity of a water supply to fight fires versus the provision of a fire protection sprinkler system in the house. Matt has agreed he will have the house will be fully sprinklered for fire protection, but there's some confusion about future use of the irrigation pond and the dry hydrant for fire department use. Right now, we're convinced the dry hydrant system was installed in accordance with the fire code, but we have no proof to present to the town that it was, and the town did not have the ability to inspect, witness the installation of the system. So of course, the fire marshal has concerns about the dry hydrant system. Also, what was previously proposed was just a kind of a straight-in approach to the dry hydrant for use for the fire department. They requested more of a pull-off area with proximity of the fire lane, access lane, immediately adjacent to the hydrant. So we have shown that on the plans, and that would only be built if the pond will be used for fire protection. At this point in time, we're not sure if it's needed by code to provide fire protection water or not, since the house is being sprinklered. So we've got to get that addressed, but whatever's required, I mean, we will do. We've shown the access road, and I guess we would be prepared to dig up the dry hydrant system, even though it's 8 foot down in the ground, just to confirm that it does meet the fire code, to make sure the fire marshal is happy with it. So that's the fire exit. I mean, the rest of the project is single-family residential, 3-bedroom home. It'll be supplied with a water well. Wes had some comments about the water well, the quantity and quality of water. We do have standard notes with the details for the well system that I think cover everything that you had asked for in your comments, but I'm not sure. I want to look at it more and whatever, and you look at it too, and if something else needs to be added to the plans, we would do that. Yeah, it's going to be a raised fill wastewater treatment system. The Labella's engineers did witness the soil testing last week. They were out there. Wes, you questioned whether a raised fill system needs to be reviewed by the Department of Health. We've designed these in Canandaigua, West Bloomfield, Richmond, and we've never presented raised fill designs to the Department of Health. I believe, I'm not positive of this because my memory isn't all that great, but I believe I asked Kendall at the Health Department, do you want to review raised fill systems? And he almost got mad with me. He says, no, we don't have time to do that. You know, that's your job. Some towns do request that we submit plans for raised fill or alternative systems to Soil and Water, Ontario County, to have them look at it. So again, we will do whatever's needed. I will contact the Health Department tomorrow to confirm that they do or they do not want to look at the design. If they want to look at it, we'll send it to them. We'll get their blessing on it. Trying to think, anything other than that?
Well, I think there was a question at one point as to whether or not the road had to be surfaced with rock dust or something of that nature.
Right, either
And I don't
asphalt.
know, it was very confusing. There were so many back and forths and questions answered and then comments that, I'll be honest with you, I don't know, I couldn't tell you the position of any of these people right now because there was just so many comments and responses. So I'm not sure where we are on that. I did want to just, you know, the next door neighbor to the east, Joe Balone, just built a home, also a considerable distance off the road. I spoke with him a little bit about his project as we were kind of talking about getting this thing going. He told me at the time, and this was, I think he built his house in 2022, it's about a 5,000 square foot house, that he was given the options to have either a hydrant, private hydrant brought in, a pond with a dry hydrant, or a sprinkler system, but only one of those things would be required, and he chose to do a pond and hydrant. And so I guess my question is, if we were given that same set of you know, possibilities and the house is sprinklered, why would the pond and hydrant be of any consequence anyway, if we're satisfying one of those requirements? And that was kind of the options that he was given. Not that, you know, I assure you, no one wants this house to burn down less than me. And I'm glad that there's a pond and a dry hydrant there. If, you know, I would rather not go through the expense of having to pump out an 800,000 gallon pond to dig up and verify that it's below the frost line when I'm really confident that the people who installed it know what they're doing. They do this all the time. You know, I know that it's.
Did they have
below the frost
records
line.
of what they did?
I mean, I could ask, you know, the.
I would do
excavator
that,
you
for
know,
sure.
I assume they would be happy to, you know, sign some kind of an affidavit that they, yes, indeed, did install this below the frost line.
And before I did that, I would even scope the pipe and
Yeah,
get a
you
record
know.
of what that pipe is depth-wise and size and, you know, where it ends up. And there's
I would
half a
certainly
dozen
love to
things you
not
could
have
probably
an
do without
excavator.
having to dig it all up.
Yeah, that would be.
I mean, you might as well
much
just
preferred.
install a new one if that's the case, right? I mean, if you're
Right.
gonna, so,
Yeah, I mean, if the town would accept that, I think one of the comments was they wanted it exposed. I thought, was that from, I can't remember
Like
who.
I said, there were
But
so
that's-
many comments that
That's
I
fine.
lost track
I
of
have
everything.
talked to the contractor that installed me. They assured me that they're 8 foot deep, well below the frost line. they cringed when they thought about digging it
Oh,
up to
again.
expose it.
So fundamentally, though, the question in my mind is, how is the sprinkler system fed? Does it come from your well? Is that where the water comes from? And does the well have the capacity to,
That would have been my next
I'm
question.
sorry, yeah, there's going to be a tank, a reservoir tank and pump in the basement to hold enough water to.
engineers are satisfied that that's sufficient to protect until the fire department gets there? I mean, if that's the case, then it makes unnecessary, having the dry hydrant and the irrigation thing, so.
Well,
And this is the fire marshal's purview, though?
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I mean, the fire service site plan review, it didn't say we're not sure. It said that it was too high, placed too high. My concern with that would be, I have a pond, and the levels drop low, and there's an intake to pull that water out, and you're not gonna be able to draw that water if the intake is not located low enough that when your pond drops. And that's I'm just guessing based on myself having a pond.
Yeah.
Why that, because that's what's indicated in this report, that it's located too high. And so,
They
and they
meant-
also indicated that in this report, and I'm not an expert on this, so I'm just reading what the report says by experts, is the concern would be that the sprinkler would be merely to help mitigate the fire until they are able to get there, and, yeah.
I believe what they're referring to, too high, is they installed the dry hydrant, but they had not yet finished cutting it to the right height and putting the right fittings on. So
Above the
that-
ground.
Right, the above-ground portion appeared to be too high because they hadn't finished that portion as far as finishing it for the
Okay.
fire department to connect.
So not
So-
not the inlet, in other
Right,
words.
right.
Okay, so that you think if the company, I think that you made a great recommendation, is going back to the company and have them give the specific details of how they installed it, because certainly
Sure.
I can't imagine having to drain a pond of that size. It would be a, catastrophic event. I get that, but at same time, you certainly be
Yeah.
more catastrophic if you had a fire and
Yeah.
you weren't safe. So maybe perhaps they have the details. I think that was a great suggestion, Joe, that they go back and see if they can provide how they install that and see if that would meet the specifications.
Yeah, and I'm also curious, someone I think mentioned, the size of the tank in the basement. I don't know who determines what size that needs to be, but certainly, we haven't purchased any equipment yet, so we can size a tank that would be appropriate to provide adequate time for the fire department to arrive.
I know, you've already got that pond in there. If it were me, that would be, for me,
Well,
belt and
and-
suspenders. I would definitely do the
Certainly,
sprinkler system.
I'm definitely want to make sure there's access to it.
Yeah.
I just think as far as, a technical requirement, I'm kind of, I guess, questioning whether or not it is, absolutely necessary as per the codes if we have the sprinkler system. And we're certainly not going to, do anything to interfere with access to it, or, I certainly want that to be at their disposal should something happen.
I mean, I was thinking that pull-off for the fire truck would also be a built-in pull-off for your driveway system. You've got several of them along there.
Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah,
So, double purpose.
yeah.
And the dry hydrant's there, and the fire department has a water supply if your 1,200-gallon tank or whatever it is runs out before they even get there. Or, I don't know how long it takes to go through 1,200 gallons in a sprinkler system, but, I'd rather have 10,000 gallons out there in a pond than 1,200 in a tank. As backup.
I think our goal is not to eliminate the dry hydrant in the pond, it's to eliminate discussion with the planning board about it, not that, make that a condition of approval, if that's possible.
I don't see why we couldn't accommodate it. I think that getting information from the fire chief, fire marshal would definitely be helpful to us to get whatever solution he's, asking for.
Sure, and that's fine, we just didn't really understand, I mean, the fire marshal did not say a sprinkler system was required, he says it's recommended, so it's like, well, if we do one, do we have to do the other? I mean, eventually, we'll probably do both, sprinkler and get a hydrant in there that's acceptable to the fire
Far more than a
department.
half a mile away from from a fire hydrant, I would want something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean,
But
you're
I-
investing a lot into your property, and I appreciate all that, so.
I think, last year when we designed the pond location and the driveway, I mean, it was very obvious where the pond needed to be placed. I mean, we know. The problem is, and it was pretty obvious later on where the house needed to be placed. They were just too far apart. And
Where's the water coming from the pond? You have a stream that goes
it's
through and
just
feeds
surface
it?
runoff. We looked at the drainage area to it, and we were pretty sure, and we dug, 3 test holes at the pond, I think, last year?
Yeah.
It's pure clay. It is nothing but clay. Groundwater was down pretty deep, so it's just surface runoff, but it looked like we had plenty of runoff, and this spring proved to be true. That pond is
That's been a
full.
wet
We
spring.
do,
When they dug the pond, they had diverted the natural drainage away so it wouldn't fill up while they were doing it. They did not connect that until spring, and it was full just from the snow melt and, just runoff
Yeah.
from the banks before they even reconnected that. Now, you get an inch of rain and the water overflows through the, overflow.
Yeah, we
There's a lot of water moves through that area.
All right, so moving past the fire department's request and your fire suppression systems, what else do you have to present?
I can't think of anything else. I think those are the issues that are kind of still up in the air, and of course, whatever it takes to get their approval will be done. Yeah,
I'm not a fire marshal, so I may say things that, they may disagree with, so take it for what it's worth, but I was trying to envision, as Joe maybe asked about, how do you supply a sprinkler system from a well? And, yeah, a backup tank makes sense.
Sure, yeah.
What's the size and all that, so.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of the contractor, but we spoke with, a company that installs sprinkler systems for residential homes, and, they assured us there's a solution.
Okay, I'm sure there is. Wes, you want to chime in?
Yeah, so we did issue a letter today. For seeker purposes, this appears to be a type 2 action, and classification as such. That concludes the seeker process. The raised fill on-site wastewater treatment system, it's great if you reach out to DOH. Glenn mentioned that he would, just to confirm whether or not they need to see the system. Obviously, the system is the responsibility of the design engineer, so we don't have any issues, I don't think, with the septic system. Yeah, maybe given some of the conversation that's been had tonight, if the fire marshal determines that the only thing necessary for firefighting purposes would be a sprinkler system, I think, Labella, we don't have such a concern with regard to the depth to the water table and soil types for the pond, if it's not going to be the primary means of firefighting. Driveway and stone, it sounds like the driveway issue is going to be resolved, or you're going to be digging some test holes or borings to figure out the driveway structure, and Glenn's kind of covered any of the comments that we have, so I think we're all set.
Any questions from the board? Outstanding. Joe, start with you. Al? Okay, Scott?
I just had a question. Is the 2-inch water service, is that just for potable water? Is that what that's for?
the 2-inch water service that was on the plans,
Yeah.
you don't mean from the private well? You mean coming from the street?
I thought I saw a 1-inch tap at the street.
Yeah, that's been eliminated.
Okay.
The revised plans that were submitted last week, Lisa?
1 second.
Yeah. Those, we eliminated the water service from the street. It was a cost.
I would think
implication.
3,000 feet of water service is a little
Crazy.
expensive.
Yeah.
But I saw it on the plans and I thought, well, these guys are really doing it up. I mean, they got water service all over the
I
place.
thought he had lots of money.
My wife made us test the neighbor's well water to make sure it was, free from anything
I see, okay,
concerning.
so
Once
that's,
it passed that test, she
Yeah.
gave me the thumbs up to do a well.
no public water for this one, okay.
No public
Yeah.
water.
Okay, and I guess I'm not surprised when I see that clay out there that you've got a raised fill septic system.
Yeah.
That would kind of make sense.
We anticipated, we submitted the plans showing that, and then we did our testing afterwards to confirm it, so.
Yeah. I can look at that and confirm it.
It is. It is enough topsoil to grow crops, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of
I
which,
have
what
no more
is,
questions.
are you continuing ag use of this site? What are you growing crops
So,
or?
well, it's gonna, so I'm a third-generation farmer. I farmed, vegetable crops in Genesee, Orleans, and Livingston counties previously. Sold that farm, took a job, and I found out that sitting behind a desk for 8 hours a day doesn't really suit me. So that's why we bought this property, and we're trying to build a slightly different kind of farm. We had a very conventional onion, corn, and soybean operation in the past. We're going to try our hand at raising some livestock and then using that livestock's winter bedding materials to make compost, to grow vegetables. So we're trying to kind of create a bit of a, what I would call a biodynamic, regenerative kind of small farm.
You putting in any solar out there for your?
That
farm?
is in the works. I'm waiting to get stamped, drawings from an engineer to set a system up to supply the house with electricity
Okay.
through a solar system.
All kinds of opportunities these days, so that's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Good luck with all that. I
you.
appreciate it. Trish?
All set?
Okay. This is a public hearing. Floor is open if there's anyone here who wishes to question the applicant or have any comments. Dave? He's itching to say something, I can tell.
Dave Nankin from Chaucer Court. I was just curious to know the flow rate of the well.
But the well has not been dug yet,
Okay,
so I can't answer that until the well driller drills a well.
would you know what your neighbor's flow rate would be?
Don't know, but I'd be happy to ask. They're
Okay.
very friendly and
Yeah.
they seem more than willing to answer any questions I ask,
Mhm.
so.
Okay.
But they, just for what it's worth, they are a horse farm, and they are supplying, the animals and themselves with water from their well, so, it's adequate for that, I guess, at least, but I don't know.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for the question, Dave. Unless there are any others, entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll move.
Al moves.
Second.
Your seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Public hearing is closed, and we don't have a resolution for this one tonight. So I guess we'll wait to get the couple of outstanding items resolved. Wes?
Yeah, it sounds like we need to get some clarification from the fire marshal on some things. So we can coordinate, I think town staff, we can coordinate with them, just so that we can wrap up some of these other comments and give you guys some direction.
We'll be back in 2 weeks.
I don't see why not.
Yeah, I can put you on June 9th. I know there was a lot going on back and forth in the last day or two, so they have to play catch up. Fire marshal does have it in front of them, so we'll work through that. And then I can put you on June 9th. If you think you need more time, we can move you. But I'll put you on.
Thanks. Okay. Last item this evening, Sunset Manor, revised final subdivision. Public hearing was closed on, this is not a public hearing.
Not a public hearing,
Yep,
no.
so I believe there's an adjustment on these plans, so no
Keith.
need for that. Keith?
Keith Maynard, project manager for the town of Victor. I'm back. The Sunset Manor revised final subdivision is what I'm here to talk about. Sunset Manor is a 5-lot subdivision on the west side of County Road 9, just north of the thruway. Let's get this out so I can refer to it. It was originally approved in 2017. So it was a 5-lot subdivision with one existing home. The lot 1, which is closest to the thruway, had an existing home. Originally approved in 2017 by the Town of Victor Planning Board, and there were supposed to be 2 different conservation easements on the subdivision that ran continuous across the back of all 5 lots. It came to light last September that those easements were never filed. The Polidoris own it and are looking to develop the last 4 lots that don't have an existing home on them. However, the easements, again, were not filed. Lot 1 was sold between the time that it was subdivided and the filed subdivision map was filed with the county. And now, And the owner of Lot 1, who would have to sign these conservation easements for them to exist, the Polidori's can't just sign them because they no longer have control over Lot 1, is not willing to sign the easements. Again, they've been working on this since September. The Polidori's have been involved. The town supervisor has spoken to the owner. I think at least 2 different attorneys have tried to answer questions. Owner is still not, owner of Lot 1 is still not comfortable signing the easements. So the town staff has worked with the Polidori's to come up with an alternative to this. They still, in order to build the other 4 homes, have to meet their 50% open space on the subdivision, and they lose the space on Lot 1. So one of the things, and LaBella was involved with this too, one of the things that we suggested to them, similar to what Scott DeHollander did over on Scout Path, where he used some of his side setbacks on the lots for conservation easement. We proposed that to the Polidori's, and they worked with their engineer Land Tech to come up with the proposal that you're currently looking at. So again, there were 2 different kinds of conservation easements. One of them was a most restrictive, which was in the very back, very west side of the project, encompassed the federal wetlands, which makes sense. The second kind of conservation easement was a least restrictive, so you can mow, you know, it would go over lawn area, which is why we went down this road, or they went down this road with their engineer while working with us. So they pulled, as you can see, the gray space is least restrictive conservation easement that has been enlarged. It comes closer to the homes, and then, like I said, based on the model that has been previously approved for Scout Path, at least that I know of, there may be more, they ran the least restrictive easement down the side setbacks. So by doing that, they've actually increased the overall conservation easement. It went from the area combined with both kinds of easements on Lot 1 that they've lost was 0.546 acres, and the new area that they're proposing in the gray, in addition to what was already on lots 1 through 4, is 0.571 acres, so it's a slight increase over what was originally approved by the town. So, like I said, collectively, we've been trying to work on a solution with the Polidori's so that they can move forward with the project with the other 4 homes and still meet the town code for the 50% open space. This is what we've all collectively come up with. Order of operations, the planning, so there has to be a modification, which is what they're here for tonight, to modify their final subdivision approval from back in 2017. We've also prepared with the town attorney and the Polidori's to prepare, and their engineer, to prepare new easements. When I say new easements, again, the easements were never filed, so they didn't exist. But different easements, I'll say, than what was originally proposed. So the planning board would need to approve this step, which is why we're all here today, so that the chairman and town engineer would be able to sign the modified site plan so that it could be filed along with the revised easements. So with that, if you have any questions for me, the Polidori's are also here if you have any questions for them.
Thanks, Keith. I appreciate the background and the explanation for why we're actually here. I may have expressed this in our conversations, but a couple of these lots are very close in terms of not being able to build structures and things like that, you know, on the least restrictive conservation easement. Are these going to be marked out, and what's to keep them from putting a swimming pool beyond the limit?
So,
for instance,
like any other subdivision, for any of those structures, they would have to come to us with a permit. Involved with that permit is obviously what they're proposing to build, whether it's a pool or a shed. They would have to have their instrument survey for their lot depicting exactly where it is. It either gets approved or denied. Typically, if they were within the setback but there was no conservation easement, they could go for a variance. In this case, if they wanted to put something in that space, not only would they have to go for a variance, they'd have to go to the town board to modify these conservation easements if they're filed. As far as markers, I think originally the plans were proposed to have trees as markers between the 2 conservation easements. Correct me if I'm wrong on any of this. Yep, to separate between them. And I think, I wasn't involved with this conversation because I was all over the place today, but I think just today, Adam was going back and forth with comments, and we were proposing, Adam was concerned about the interior of the newly proposed conservation easement on lot 1 through 4. So in other words, the area if you were to put structures in a space that's not a conservation easement, that the point at which you would then meet the conservation easement. So Adam proposed monuments, which we have a
Detail.
detail, thank you, Lisa, in our design and construction standards for, but it's, a 3-foot chunk of concrete in the ground, but it goes all the way into the ground with a metal pin in it, just like a surveyor's monument. I think I remember the town had to install some in front of your house. So that you can mow over the top of them, but either the homeowner, town staff, like anybody could go out with a metal detector
Surveyor
and figure
could
out
see it.
exactly where those corners are, yeah. And I think when the Polidori's worked with their engineer before you guys were okay with this, I think one of Mr. Polidori's concerns was that these houses would be able to put like a small shed or a pool in the space that's not a conservation easement.
Mauro, could you come to the?
Sorry, Mauro.
Okay.
From here to here, you see, we left.
yeah, sorry.
We left all that, the white.
Yep, so there's
There's
47.
plenty of room, yeah, because we can't not be able to have someone put a pool in if they want down the road.
Yeah, so the.
So we made sure that we left. you see the
Yep, so
number?
so lot 5 is
47
47 and a half, lot 4 is 52.1, lot 3 is 43.9, and then lot 2 is the least distance at 40 and a half feet.
And then the gray coming down in between the lots, that's a side setback, so you can't do anything there anyway. The house can't even be there. Nothing
Right.
can be there, so those are safe. Then the monuments will be right here, 1, 2.
Correct.
But then they still have room for, I mean, there, as you can see, there's already decks on a couple of them, on 3 of them. There's already wooden decks on 3 of them, but then there's still room for a pool.
Okay.
But we shouldn't encroach.
Yeah, just
We shouldn't
more
encroach.
trying to frame the issue, right? And I appreciate the
And that was one
explanation,
of,
yeah.
they're rightfully so one of their concerns.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we needed the side, remember?
Yep.
The problem was, we tried to put it all in the back.
Yeah, you wouldn't
It
have
was
much.
almost touching the houses.
Right.
So we needed the side, and then they found that there was someone else that did it, sideline, so, it works now for us.
Okay, as long as,
You can be.
as long as
so
you
they
can be
stay
clear
away.
with them, they're well established.
Well, and-
Conservation
yeah, and
easements.
when we close on each lot, they're gonna have a survey map.
Yeah.
And
And
the survey. No, it's good. Well, that's still on there. That's gone now, right?
correct, yeah.
This is the older map.
Yep, so yeah,
I think the one up there is clear, yeah.
correct, yeah, so
So
the,
lot 1 has no conservation,
correct. And I don't know,
existing farmhouse.
what do they have in their packet, the map I have that shows it on
Yeah.
lot 1? Okay, so that was the original, like, to try and illustrate to everybody what was happening here. The map on the screen, to Mr. Polidori's,
Is the new map,
is
right?
the new map.
Right.
So that's what will actually be signed and filed with the county. That clearly shows there's no conservation easement space on lot
Okay.
1.
Right?
All right, so it sounds like you're going to put 4 pins, 2, 4, 8 pins in it at the backside of
Yep.
those conservation, or the non-conservation easement, or whatever you want
And
to
that'll
call it.
be
That'll be a delineating,
after, before CLO, of course.
yeah.
You can't-
And it looks like they all line up,
Yes,
is that
yeah.
true? All 4
Yes.
lots have all that line in a row, and
Yep.
it makes it easy,
Should be easy.
yeah.
Yep.
And I'll make sure I make the homeowners aware.
Okay,
No, it's pins now, it's pins. Right?
In spots, yeah, I think,
there still trees?
we'll work with you guys on that to delineate on the plans exactly what's what.
Okay.
I talked to Adam real quick at the end of the day. I think you probably talked to more than I did today. I think he was most concerned with monuments on the inside corners that Mara was just pointing at.
Yeah.
I think still trees on the lot lines between the 2 lots, and then on separating the least restrictive from the most restrictive.
yeah,
Yep.
that makes sense.
But we'll work with you guys to make sure that that's clear on the
There'll be a little
plans.
sign either, in woods, but the most restricted. There's a little sign, right?
Yeah.
4x4?
Yeah, it's got to be, I think, on every point of intersection between the lots.
Corner.
Yeah, the corners and the corners of the easements inside the lots.
Okay,
Did I miss anything from what Adam said on that?
Nope,
Like I said,
you got
I wasn't
it.
super involved with those conversations today.
all right, I will let the rest of the board talk, because I've been doing it all, so, Al?
I was just gonna say, given the loss of the easement on lot 1, I think is a very practical solution, so I'm kind of with what's being proposed.
Okay.
I agree. I think this is a real smart solution. It works.
Okay, Scott?
Yep, I've done this in Farmington before.
Oh, okay.
And just on the new map there, which is different than the one I have, you probably won't be setting a conservation marker on Lot 1, correct? So you want to delete that, maybe?
You're talking about way at the throughway border boundary?
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah, I think actually
Yeah,
Adam
it was a
specifically
comment.
said that. It was one
Yeah,
of his
that was a
comments.
comment from Adam, and then they submitted a new map, but that didn't make it onto the slideshow because it was too late, but they did remove that.
Oh, that way.
Yeah.
If he's not in support of a.
Yeah, no, I think
Sure
Adam
not
called
gonna
that out.
want a
Like I said,
monument.
there's just some minor things we need to work with our engineer to clean up before plans get
problem.
signed, but good catch, because Adam caught it too.
And Trish?
I'm actually very familiar with that land because my church was actually going to build Victor Community Church there, and it wasn't going to work out for how they wanted to build the church, but I'm so happy to see it being used, because I actually, I think it's a beautiful piece of land, and I think, I'm just really happy to see it being used and finally becoming homes for folks and developed in the way it should be, so.
Yeah, he built along Aldrich on the northern.
ones, yeah.
Northeastern,
Yeah.
Sold to Gerber.
yeah.
Yeah.
What's Gerber doing to the north of you? Are they building up there? You don't know?
No. No, we had heard through the county that they might be gonna talk again, but I don't think you guys have heard a thing, right? No. Yeah, we haven't, the town has not heard a thing.
They had to get a wetland jurisdiction, last I know.
When you saw a sketch.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they wanted like 6 or 8 townhouses or 10 maybe, something, whatever it was.
We did a field visit, but never saw anything after that.
Talk about no room for swimming pools. Their buildings were almost at the,
And the Polidori's have an easement that runs across. the
yeah,
front.
right,
That's
that was a
nice.
whole other thing. Which, by the way, what are you doing with the driveway? Wasn't there supposed to be a loop at the north end?
It's
of
on
it?
there.
Once we start building.
Yeah, okay.
Get built.
I keep going by there and thinking, let's see that, okay, good.
We're getting close.
Okay.
All right, I think we're set, unless, you have anything, Wes? All right, I will, we do have a resolution.
Thank you.
And thank you, Keith, appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Sunset Manor, final subdivision, County Route 9, application 1FS 2026, whereas the planning board made the following findings of fact, there are 6 of them. Now therefore be it resolved that the final subdivision application of Morro Polidori, major subdivision entitled Sunset Manor, drawn by Land Tech, dated January 8th, 2026, received by the planning board May 12th, 2026. Planning board application 1FS 26B, approved with the following conditions. Were there any revisions to this since January 8th that we should note?
Revisions.
To the easements, it sounds like this has been ongoing since January, adjusting things and coming up with this final solution.
So there
What's the-
was a new map submitted today.
Yeah.
So I can change that date.
Okay, just, I would just say updated January 6th, 8th, but
As
updated,
revised.
whatever, revised
Yep.
today.
Yep.
Okay, good. Just want to make sure we got the right map in here.
Yep.
Blah, blah, what did I say? Planning board action, be approved with the following conditions. Conditions to be addressed prior to chairman's signature on the site plan. 1 is standard. 2, that before the planning board chairman signs the approved film originals, the developer must submit electronic subdivision map files to the town pursuant to section 133 of the Town of Victor Design and Construction Standards. Copies of electronic files shall be forwarded to the town engineer to confirm that the data on the electronic files is the same as the approved subdivision plans. Number 3 is standard. Number 4, that the location of all conservation easement markers shall be shown on the final plans. Number 5, comments and letter dated May 19th, 2026 from code enforcement officer be addressed. Ongoing conditions, 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all standards, even though it says number 6. And be it further resolved that the planning board secretary distribute the planning board's approval letter. So, with all of that, I entertain a motion for approval.
I'll move.
Joe moves,
Second.
and Al seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, carried 5-0. Okay, any other business?
I do. We have 2 site walks. One with Timberview that, don't go anywhere, Mario. And then one with Nova Rise. So I'm not sure. So Timberview would just be the planning board, not conservation board, but Nova Rise will be both. Is there good times since is there any good times at work in the next 2 weeks? And the other question is, Nova Rise is on June 9th. Would you like a site walk before that meeting, or would you like it after? I don't know if you had a preference.
I may struggle to make one before June 9th,
Okay,
based on commitments I have,
okay.
family and such. So,
Do you want to wait a little? Okay,
okay. So why don't we look to, after that, at least, yeah, before the end of June sometime,
okay.
perhaps. That work tomorrow? Yeah. Yeah, 5:30, 6 o'clock, whatever's
works.
good. 6 works, okay. All right, well, she'll poll everyone and we'll get back to you and she might give you a couple dates. Let us know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Preferably no Fridays.
all right.
Trying to be nice.
We'll get it together and get back with you, so, okay.
And then Nova Rise, are you okay then after you see them for their first meeting preliminary?
I think so, yeah.
What's Nova Rise? What's that?
You saw them for sketch. It's off of Brownsville Road, the 7123 homes.
Oh, that's right, that was Morel, right?
It's the one that links into the,
Azano.
yeah, it has a stub road that was intended to link.
And I will let you know that I do have a lot of resident correspondence I will probably send out ahead of time, so you guys can have an opportunity to read them.
That would be helpful.
So that there's about 10 already, so I don't want to hit you all of them
Oh,
right the week before, so.
they've already heard from me, so.
That's all I have.
Okay, then. Unless there's anything else,
Move to adjourn.
Joe moves to adjourn.
Second.
2 seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Have a great rest of your evening and see you next time.
Thank you.